A very warm welcome to the first and hopefully the last virtual Beverly Hills Bar Association and Foundation Supreme Court and Scholarship Luncheon. We're delighted you could all attend. I'm Linda Spiegel, president of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation, and as such, I wish to express our extreme gratitude to the California Supreme Court Chief Justice, Tani Cantil-Sakauye, and the Associate Justices, Justice Kruger, Justice Liu, Justice Cuellar, Justice Groban, Justice Corrigan, and Justice Jenkins for setting aside the time to be our honored guest once again this year. Allow me to dispel a lingering misperception that the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation is comprised of rich lawyers asking for money from others. Nothing could be further from the truth. In fact, the board members of the foundation are all hardworking stiffs who pursue the most noble of professions and who, in all of their non-existent spare time, devote their efforts to raising funds and completing the mission of the foundation, which is to support the good works of the Beverly Hills Bar Association, such as raising funds for our annual scholarship and rule of law competition, our monthly free legal clinic at Roxbury Park, feeding the homeless at San Michelle Homeless Shelter, and our low bono modest means legal services program developed to bridge the justice gap for those who neither qualify for free legal aid nor could they afford an attorney at market rates. Rather, our attorneys cap their hourly rates so that those who fall into this gap can get the representation and legal advice they need at affordable rates based on income. It goes without mention that in order to continue to foster and support law school students whose career path will be public interest law instead of other lucrative areas of legal practice, we depend upon your tax-deductible donations to continue to award Beverly Hills Bar Foundation scholarships. The many success stories of former scholarship recipients who became judicial officers, legislators, and community leaders are proof of the impact the foundation scholarships have had. Case in point, Los Angeles Superior Court Judge James E. Blancarte. On December 13, 2018, Governor Jerry Brown appointed Judge Blancarte to the Los Angeles Superior Court. Initially, Judge Blancarte presided over domestic violence cases at the Stanley Moss Courthouse in downtown LA. Currently, Judge Blancarte is assigned to a limited civil courtroom at the Spring Street Courthouse in downtown LA. Prior to becoming a bench officer, Judge Blancarte earned national and international recognition for handling criminal defense cases and international law matters, among others. Judge Blancarte is a graduate of the UCLA School of Law, go Bruins, and has since held numerous leadership positions in civic organizations and is a former board member of the Constitutional Rights Foundation. When Judge Blancarte was appointed, then Governor Jerry Brown told the new judicial appointees to be brave. Not only is Judge Blancarte brave in his judgments, but he demonstrates his courage just by taking the bench, a job that requires a great deal of courage these days. It is now my pleasure to introduce the courageous Judge James E. Blancarte.
Thank you, Linda. Very kind and a very generous introduction. Let me begin by addressing Her Honor, the Honorable Chief Justice Cantil-Sakauye, and the other Honorable Associate Justices of the California Supreme Court. It is my pleasure and honor to address you formally by saying, may it please the court. As a past recipient of the Beverly Hills Bar Association scholarship, I'm honored and grateful to have this opportunity to acknowledge and thank the Beverly Hills Bar Association Foundation for awarding me this scholarship over 40 years ago in 1973, when I was a second-year law student at the UCLA School of Law. Now, I said I was honored, but I'm also grateful. I'm grateful to be a judge of the Los Angeles Superior Court, the largest and, in my opinion, the best state court in the entire country. I'm honored because this court has seen its way through a horrible pandemic, through the leadership of the former presiding judge Brazil, current presiding judge Eric Taylor, and assistant presiding judge Samantha gesture. Unless you're behind the scenes with them, there's no way you can know how it is that they have struggled mightily daily to try to protect our staff, court staff, and our fellow judicial officers. And they've done so in a way that allows justice to go forward, cases to be heard. Maybe not as fast as all would like, but certainly much better than would be otherwise. I'm honored to be in the company of such an amazing group of scholarship recipients and grateful that I didn't have to compete against them back in the 70s because they are so much more smart. They're more sophisticated. I mean, I don't see how I could have possibly been successful with that kind of competition. When I say they're more sophisticated, I mean, there's examples that are kind of embarrassing. I come from a small Mexican immigrant community in South Pomona. My college counselor said, you know, Jim, I think you're a good candidate to go to Pomona College. I was indignant. And he said, what's the matter? I said, you know, just because I'm a Latino, you're trying to put me at some school I never heard of. He said, Jim, Pomona College is one of the top 10 liberal arts colleges in the country. I said, I'm from Pomona. I would know if there's a good college in my town. He said, well, it's not in Pomona, it's in Claremont. I said, it's not even in Pomona. So that wasn't helpful. But I visited the campus, found myself in an Ivy League environment, surrounded by, you know, beautiful buildings. And bottom line is Pomona became a stepping stone and a game changer in my life and in my career. Now, the Beverly Hills Bar Association Scholarship Foundation also became a stepping stone, but more than that, it became a game changer. And the way they did that, Linda alluded to it, I think, very well and very directly. Despite the stereotypical image of wealth and prestige and privilege, for over 4 decades, the Bar Foundation has been interviewing and awarding scholarships to students of need who have shown talent and potential and a commitment to community service in their lives and careers as lawyers. And many have gone on to prove the foundation right in having made those awards. You know, it's important for me to also remember that in this case, I look back to the 70s, and it was a interesting and maybe not that different political climate. The war in Vietnam was winding its way down in the early 70s. But the political climate for students of color was, we're going to go to law school, we're going to become public defenders and immigration lawyers, two very noble careers. You know, my wife and I put 3 adult children through law school, and one of them is an immigration lawyer. So I obviously have great respect for him and for my other 2 who are also practicing law. But my point is that I was an activist student in high school. I was an activist student in college. And yes, I was an activist student at UCLA, details of which we won't go into because those were some tumultuous years. So how was the Bar Foundation a game changer? Well, it was a game changer like my college counselor who sent me to Pomona College. That was an amazing opportunity. So my first year at UCLA, I saw that I was invited to be on moot court. And as we were looking at the board, because there were no digital boards, they were posted with pins. Some of my friends said, well, you're not going to do that, are you? And I said, what do you mean I'm not going to do that? The quote was, we don't do that. I go, what do you mean we don't do that? We don't do law review. We don't do moot court. We're community lawyers. We're going to go out and, you know, save the world. I said, yeah, but I want to be a trial lawyer. And isn't moot court good for that? So I decided that peer pressure be damned, I was going to go to moot court, and that's what I did. And in my second year at UCLA, I saw a notice for applications for the Beverly Hills Bar Association Scholarship Foundation. And again, the peer pressure was, we don't do that. That's against our political party line. Doing anything with the Beverly Hills Bar, are you kidding me? And I thought to myself, well, wait a minute. It's a scholarship. What's the worst that can happen is I don't get it. I learned to conquer rejection when I was 15 years old. So I applied and I got the scholarship and have been forever grateful. So at that point, uh, I decided that maybe there was a lot to be said for opening your horizons. That scholarship introduced me through the interview process with somebody named Antonia Hernandez, who was a member of the foundation board. She's the one who interviewed me. She's the one who gave me the scholarship. And the concern that my friends had was, don't be a sellout. I said, well, Antonia Hernandez was president of the Mexican American Legal Defense and Education Fund, also known as MALDEF. Currently, she's the president and CEO of the California Community Foundation, one of the most powerful and influential foundations in the United States, hardly the profile of a sellout. So I thought to myself, maybe there is a bigger, broader world of opportunities out there that I need to give some serious thought to. So with my Beverly Hills Bar Scholarship in hand, with a role model like Antonia Hernandez, I thought, well, if I want to be a good trial lawyer, maybe I should be trained by the best that I can be. But I saw that in large law firms, there was literally, you could count the Latinos in large law firms in the 70s on one hand. There was Dan Garcia and Vilma Martinez at Munger Tolles, Mario Camara at Cox Castle, and Peter Lopez at Mitchell Silverberg. And as far as I know, that was it. But I decided to challenge myself to apply to the big firms, and I sent out approximately 50 letters. Well, I've kept all the rejection letters for all these years to remind me that if you can conquer rejection, success is on the way. People think I'm crazy for keeping this, but they're really important to me. Well, I got offers from 3 law firms, and I ended up accepting one from Mitchell Silverberg and Knupp, where I became an associate and then a partner for 13 years. And that opened roads to opportunity, not just to be the best lawyer I could possibly be, but with a concern over being a sellout, which was a serious amount of peer pressure. I'm happy to report that 5 years later, after graduation, I was president of the Mexican American Bar Association. Again, hardly the profile of being a sellout. So the lesson learned is that this scholarship has been, and certainly for me was, a game changer and more than just a mere stepping stone. It's important for me to share the scholarship with young people, like the recipients that we're honoring today, because they're examples of the fact that talent and potential isn't always commensurate with privilege. And this foundation has, for over 4 decades, done the heavy lifting to find, identify, and interview those students out there who have the potential to not only be successful in their careers, but to share that success with their community, with the things that they do. At Mitchell Silverberg, I ran the informal pro bono program, which was more of you ask for forgiveness instead of permission. By the time they realized what I was doing, it was kind of too late in some respects. So I encourage the foundation to keep up the great work that they've done for now over 4 decades. That work is important because out there, there's another female Chief Justice of the California Superior Court. You just got to find that person. There's another Cruz Reynoso out there who's working their way through their 2nd year of law school. All you got to do is find them, interview them, and give them that game-changing opportunity that I received back in 1973. So with all that said, I can't thank the Bar Foundation enough. I'm honored to be here today. I'm honored to address the Chief Justice and the Associate Justices of the California Supreme Court. and I will continue to do my best to make me worthy of having received that scholarship from the BHBA Foundation over 4 decades ago. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Judge Blancarte. You do us proud and you make us very happy we chose you 40 years ago. Thank you for your service and for your continued efforts to always make the foundation proud and to make your community proud and to be the best jurist you can be. So now to one of our highlights of this event, the scholarships. First, I'd like to thank Pierre Pine, President of the Scholarships Committee and Chair of the committee, along with his committee members who devoted countless hours reviewing applications, interviewing candidates, and finally making those crucial final cuts for scholarship recipients. Those law students who have overcome extraordinary financial and social obstacles to just get to law school, who have committed themselves to public interest law careers upon graduation. As president of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation, I want to extend well-deserved congratulations to each of this year's scholarship recipients and gratitude to Pierre and his entire scholarship committee. Gratitude must also be expressed to the founder, chair, and chief benefactor of the foundation's Rule of Law writing competition, Kenneth Petrulis, along with his wife, Dale. To explain the virtues and requirements of this unique and thought-provoking writing competition, it is my pleasure to introduce Kenneth Petrulis.
Thank you, Linda. Chief Justice Cantil-Sakauye and other justices of the Supreme Court, Judge Blancarte, with many thanks to the Rule of Law Committee, I am pleased to announce scholarship winners of the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation 12th Annual Rule of Law Writing Competition. These awards recognize papers that advance the rule of law. This year, local law schools submitted selected law review articles from which 3 winning articles were chosen. The winning articles are posted on our website. The winner of our grand prize $2,500 scholarship is Andy Hyman, Southwestern Law School. His article discusses the dilemma posed at trial when a state's expert witness has given contradictory or irreconcilable testimony in a previous case. The winners of our $500 scholarship awards are Jonathan Quartek, University of Southern California, Gould School of Law, and Jeremy Wiese, UCLA School of Law. Jonathan's article argues that felony voting exclusion laws disproportionately deny minority individuals access to fundamental voting rights. Jeremy's article discusses the 2012 Supreme Court decision in Hosanna Tabor, arguing that the decision was wrong because the ministerial exception given to religious organizations from liability for employment discrimination is overbroad due to vagueness. Now, here is Pierre Pine, chair of our scholarship committee, to introduce our scholarship winners.
Hi, I'm Pierre Pine. I'm the Vice President of Scholarships for the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation. This year, the committee evaluated 23 and interviewed 10 outstanding candidates. In making its decisions, the committee focused on whether the candidates demonstrated a strong commitment to public interest law, academic distinction, leadership, work ethic, and of course, financial need. Although each of the candidates were well qualified and impressive, the committee selected 5 that were found to be truly exceptional. In the upcoming video, I believe you too will agree these scholarship winners are outstanding.
Hi, I'm Joseph Bowie from Grennis Martin Stein & Richland, an appellate law firm and proud sponsor of the scholarship. We want to congratulate the scholarship recipients and Rule of Law competition winners. Your accomplishments and commitment to public service have been so impressive and so important, especially in light of this past year. Congratulations again.
My name is Danielle Wilkins. I'm currently a rising 3L at USC Gould School of Law. And I decided to go to law school because it has always been my desire to change the world in some capacity. I was drawn to the law because it can be used as a tool to achieve social justice, but unfortunately, a lot of times, the criminal justice system specifically just isn't that just to the people who are facing it. So I want to be an attorney who helps people to ensure that actual justice is achieved for as many people as possible. And I also recognize that there aren't many Black women lawyers in this country, and I hope that not only will I be able to add a unique perspective as a Black woman, but also will encourage younger Black women to also pursue the law as well.
Hi, my name is Abraham Brand. I'm a 3L graduating student from Southwestern Law School, and I chose to join law or to pursue law when I was an immigration paralegal at firms in Boston and Los Angeles, and I worked with clients going through some of the most difficult portions of their life, and I knew that I wanted to be a part of that and an advocate for my clients.
My name is Michelle Zhang. I'm a rising 3L at Loyola Law School. And one of the biggest reasons why I became an attorney was to help people. I've always had a drive to help people, no matter if it's just something little like giving a smile, giving a hug, or just helping them with their homework or something like that. I've always been that type of person that my friends can rely on to help them. So when I heard about this career path of an attorney that truly gives back to the community, I thought that was a good career for me.
My name is Andy Hyman. I'm a third-year student at Southwestern Law School. And I chose to go into law just to find a way to better be of service to my community, city of Los Angeles, and the state.
My name is Kathy Ameliategi. I am a law student at UCLA, and I chose to go into law because prior to law school, I was a labor organizer at a community organization and worked with lawyers who were doing direct services and helping workers. In one of my first organizing experiences, I actually witnessed lawyers help win back wages for a group of garment workers in Los Angeles who had had thousands of dollars stolen from them collectively over the years. And seeing the role that the attorney played in supporting workers inspired me to want to kind of learn more about the legal system and be a resource and support in the labor movement for workers as well.
My name is Jeremy Wiese. I graduated from UCLA School of Law this past year, 2020. And I guess you could say law kind of found me. My first career was as a pastor at a church in Santa Monica. And as I was looking to what was next for me, law came to the forefront as an option, just as a way to use the skills that I thought I'd already gained through life experience and through education, and also to use those skills to help people to make the world a better, a more just, a more fair place.
My name is Mckenna Johnson, and I am a rising 3L at Pepperdine Caruso School of Law. And I chose to go to law school because I have always been committed to social justice and human rights and ensuring equality and basic human dignity for all people. And so I felt that law school was the best way to pursue that goal.
It's Jonathan Kortek, and my law school was University of Southern California, Gould School of Law. And the reason I chose to go into law is just I'm passionate about, helping people and, people that don't have a proper, ability to represent themselves to be able to put myself in that position and try to do some good in the world.
My paper is called The Problem with Johnson and Lamond, Irreconcilable Science in the Brady-Napier No Man's Land.
The title of my rule of law paper was The Unholy Shield, Rethinking the Ministerial Exception. And it addresses an issue where sometimes religious organizations can use the shield of the First Amendment to keep from being accountable for possible acts of discrimination. I saw that happen in my field and time as a minister, and so it was a way to blend my past and my present into thinking how to make this world a more fair place and a place free of discrimination, but also still have freedom of religion and freedom of expression.
The title of my paper is Guilty Beyond a Reasonable Doubt, Challenging Felony Disenfranchisement under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act.
I'm sure you will all agree that all of our scholarship recipients are worthy and extremely inspiring, and the Beverly Hills Bar Foundation will continue to grant scholarships with the help of everyone who makes contributions. So I encourage you to log on to www.bhbf.org and make your contribution. And now to the highlight of our afternoon. It seems that in this year, that it was the longest year in which everything changed in an instant. Responding immediately and effectively to the overwhelming magnitude of the pandemic and its impact on the justice system with California Supreme Court Chief Justice Tani Cantil-Sakauye. Without skipping a beat and with all deliberate speed, the Chief Justice transformed the court system to make it work seamlessly and effectively in the face of unprecedented challenges. Under normal circumstances, I would read the Chief's impressive resume to introduce her. But given the logistical acrobats and the ever-changing CDC, state, and county health department recommendations and cries for help from every state judicial district to coordinate hundreds of thousands of litigants waiting for their day in court, the multitude of courts, bench officers, and cases on the dockets, all while balancing the health and safety of all, her resume almost pales in comparison to her achievements this past year. Therefore, it is with extreme awe and tremendous honor that I introduce the Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court, Tani Cantil-Sakauye.
Thank you, Linda, for that very kind introduction. Thank you to the Beverly Hills Bar Association for your continued professional and philanthropical efforts. You do make leaders, you continue to encourage leaders, and you lead yourself. Over the last 10 years of my experience with the Beverly Hills Bar Association, you've always been a partner in the administration of justice. Thank you for that. I also want to thank Judge Blancarte for that inspirational speech, a little bit of that walk down memory lane of old tech, and also the inspiration to keep going and reminding ourselves that our failures inform our success. It's also with deep, I think, privilege and honor that all of us on the line, all the Supreme Court justices online attending, as well as Jorge Navarrete, our clerk of the court, are thankful that the Beverly Hills Bar Association has this luncheon with us. It's a pleasure to always break bread with you, and in this way to even enjoy a virtual event. Congratulations to all the law school awardees. You too are inspiring. We look forward to the efforts, to your experience, to your eventual efforts at leading. Let me also say that the Supreme Court never loses sight of the law students and the law challenges that the students have. Let me just briefly say that in the last several years, after great study, much deliberation and discussion about these issues with all of our colleagues at the Supreme Court, in the last several years, the Supreme Court, while the state bar is under our jurisdiction, the Supreme Court has voted to re-weight the scoring of the California bar exam. We have also changed the 3-day test to a 2-day exam. We have also changed the score after much discussion and scientific study and reduced it in such a way that we've also permitted that reduced score to operate under certain circumstances retroactively. Additionally, likely because of COVID-19, we were forced to early reckon with putting the California bar exam online, which we did twice. That is an understatement when you think that California, unlike most other states, which may have 300 applicants to take their bar exam, California at any given year has anywhere from 5,000 to 9,000 people who take its bar exam, and they're online, and we need to make sure that it's run seamlessly. And I'm proud that the justices on the California Supreme Court took this responsibility very seriously and monitored that and gave it great discussion. And also in recognition of the pandemic of some of the law school's graduates in 2020, the California Supreme Court enacted with the state bar and the help of the lawyer input to the provisional licensing exam process so we can understand the challenges that lawyers, law students had, and to try to find a path forward to keep people on track in order that they may practice and give back to the community. But as you said, Linda, last year we missed breaking bread with you, and it's been, as you say, and we all feel it, 15 months into the pandemic. And I want to briefly explain to you what's happened in those 15 months and then the path going forward. As you know, the judiciary never closed. There was a time when we were operating for the first time in California history as a two-branch government. Only the executive branch and the judicial branch were open for business. Mind you, it didn't look like regular business, but it was business. And in that time frame, at least as far as the judicial branch is concerned, regarding the Judicial Council, which I chair, as you know, we entered phase one. And phase one was the enactment of numerous emergency rules statewide, starting with my declaration of finding good cause to continue all jury trials for 60 days. An order I made, not without a fair amount of qualm, because we didn't know at that time what COVID was, how it was transmitted, what effects it had, how it lingered. And so in order to protect our court users, our court family, and the numerous occupations that integrate and synthesize with the work of the court, I suspended jury trials for 60 days so we could get our footing and find out how best we could protect. In that time frame thereafter, the Judicial Council enacted more than 10 emergency rules. And again, this enactment involved talking to you, lawyers from the Beverly Hills Bar Association, lawyers from numerous associations, legal aid, family law, dependency, the criminal bar. We met, we talked, we came up with rules that we thought could best accommodate the most needs in the fastest way. We operated and continue to operate under these emergency rules, which allow most of the remote operation and access that we have today. As you know, we also tried to shrink our footprint in the high volume court rooms, as well as ensure that we as a court, as a judiciary, we're not contributing to the spread of COVID in the world outside the court. And that's when we looked at courts disciplines and we closed certain courtrooms, including unlawful detainer. We decided that we had a duty to not bring in people in danger, health, and family, and we shut down certain courts while we made others remotely accessible. We went online into e-filing, remote hearings, remote interpreting, online self-help, online remote adoptions. And we did this not only in English, but we also did it in Spanish. We did this fast, quick, and hard. And we have many, many thanks to many, many people who gave us their expertise and worked every Saturday and Sunday, as you know, we lawyers and judges do, minutely going over every comma, every semicolon, every period, ensuring that we were being clear in our rules. That was phase one. We are still in phase one. Certain emergency rules have been lifted. Certain emergency rules are the subject now of pending bills that we hope will be passed into law. More on that later. Phase two of the judiciary's response to the virus and the pandemic and its consequent rippling effect was to meet with the governor's office, the Department of Finance, and to turn our ideas to address not only the pandemic practice, but also what would inevitably be the backlog, what would inevitably happen once the pandemic ended and courts fully opened. And so we worked with the governor and asked to be put in his proposed January budget, our phase two, our answer to backlog, our answer to fines and fees, our answer to pretrial services, our answer to what we thought we could work with the legal community. Again, phase two, our budget proposals that are in the current budget proposal. Again, we're fully informed by all of the lawyers, all of the stakeholders. I asked the plaintiff's bar to meet with the civil defense bar. I asked them to go and tell me what you agree on and where you disagree. Only bring disagreement to me. We will write everything else as you agree. We went to legal aid and we asked, where can we improve? We went to interpreters. We asked, how is it that we are falling down on this job if your client is not getting the services in a meaningful fashion? We met all remotely, we put it into a package, and we asked the governor, who then did incorporate it into his January proposed budget. It's really important at this point that I also say the big shout out to the Los Angeles Superior Court, presiding judge Kevin Brazil in 2020, and presiding judge Eric Taylor. This largest court in the United States served as an example of how to respond safely and how to work with its critics. And that's one of 58 courts. Los Angeles's concerns were not the same as Alpine's, which has a 2-judge court. It's not the same as Yuba's or San Diego, but all of the best practices have come from the trial court experience and from the heavy lifting. And as Judge Blancarte said, the behind the scenes chaos of trying to come up with peace and a way forward. My great thanks to all of the judges, because the judges continued to work in our state. They worked from home, and many, many came in, including the judicial staff, putting themselves at risk. We had many, many judges, many, many court staff come down with the virus. And they continued to come in, they've continued to help, we've taken protocol, but everyone in the judiciary was on the front line, including the lawyers. Now, phase 3 of the pandemic response is what we call our P3 group. We hope and believe we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're meeting with you now to ask you stakeholders, what should we keep? What should we improve? What should we eliminate? And that's an ongoing process now. We are meeting with all the stakeholders, and that meeting is public, which you can access on our court website. Our effort then is to take those and see what are best practices that we can operate without legislation and what needs legislation. Now, it also happens to be that, as you well know, this year, 21-22, our upcoming fiscal year, there is a bounty of financial resources in California, thanks to a surplus from our own budget, but also from the American Rescue Plan. There are billions of one-time dollars, but let me stress, it's one-time dollars, and the governor and the legislature are wisely deciding how best to use that. So there are 2 questions for the judiciary, and the first is, what will be kept of all of the good effort, the best practices that we know now, and what will continue after the pandemic? Mind you, we are in direct dialogue with the lawyers, with the trial courts, and with the legal aid and the organizations. My option really is that we should keep everything, we should improve it, but we should make it optional, so that if a pro se litigant in family law wishes to come to court rather than access remotely, then he or she should have the opportunity to do so. Or if they do not have the facility to operate, to access courts at home, then we will gladly provide an opportunity at the courthouse proper with aid of lawyers and staff to either remotely connect them or to have them in the courtroom if that's what they wish. The same with lawyers across the state. 54 of California's 58 trial courts are remotely accessible today. I have signed, as the chair of the Judicial Council, over 500 emergency orders that allow courts to operate in the pandemic. My emergency order doesn't tell a presiding judge how to operate. It merely gives a presiding judge the tools to be flexible if the emergent need arises, and to make a record of why they need to use the emergency order authorized by the chair of the Judicial Council. And the reason these emergency orders have been flexible is because, as you know, the rules have been changing. There are state orders and guidelines, there are county orders and guidelines, and there continues to be uncertainty. And while we as lawyers and judges and court staff can be confident about our practice, jurors are not necessarily as confident. And so we need to rebuild that trust in our public who comes to us seeking justice. Phase 3 is ongoing, and Phase 3 continues to be discussed. It's tied very closely with the budget. The budget highlights the proposal of the governors, which we support, include, as you can imagine, as for some of the highlights, a $300 million one-time money to the judicial branch to look at forgiving fines and fees for low-income defendants that were incurred in the past up to 2021, recognizing the economic hardship of 2020 and the years prior. Also, there is an effort to increase self-help. There is also an effort to increase by millions, approximately 140 million, money for trial courts and services to help people not have to stay pre-trial in custody awaiting their date in court. Additionally, there is money for deferred maintenance. There's money for including backlog. These are all one-time funding sources for the court. The backlog, the $60 million in backlog that is in the governor's proposal, is a bit in jeopardy at the moment. I haven't written it off entirely, but I think there's some further discussion to be had about how money is best spent on the backlog. Additionally, with technology, there is already money in the court in the current year to modernize for purposes of remote access. We as a branch have asked for more money to provide more and up-to-date remote technology for courts and users. And that has stalled in the legislature at this point. The legislature is, as I understand it, of course it's fluid until the budget is signed, that there is currently an effort not to accept our remote technology legislative proposals, but instead not put them in the budget, but to put them in policy language. So I'm not all that concerned, but I'm worried that we will have to make the case about the use of remote technology in courts. And we hope that you will be part of that effort. We already have other stakeholders who support the optional use of technology because we find technology and remote access in family law, in dependency, helps people like children who would rather talk to a judge in a black robe from their kitchen table rather than drive, park, walk up the stairs, sit in a hallway, and come into a closed courtroom full of grown-ups. We've also found that lots of folks would rather apply for a domestic violence restraining order by phone or at a library or somewhere else, but not have to make the arrangements to take a day off, to travel, to get that important restraining order. We've also found that we have greater access and better ability to reach people who need interpreters when we can use video, remote interpreting by choice to the person who needs the service, not force this upon people who would rather wait and have someone appear in person and sit at their side. So we, going forward, in my mind, cannot and will not go back to what the courts looked like in 2019, and we shouldn't go back. We're California. We lead, people watch, we have the intelligence, the technology, and we are buoyed by the lawyers who tell us when we get it right and tell us when we get it wrong, and that's important as we go forward. So I think that we are all awaiting this conclusion of the proposed budget and how the legislature decides to respond to the governor's priorities and the judicial branch's priorities. But the budget is not the end of it, because as you know, we have months thereafter to discuss policy language that makes its way into the statutes. So I tell you that the judiciary continues to stay open. We continue to do this work with your help. You, the lawyers, the bar associations, Beverly Hills Bar Association, you have done heroic work by staying open, by inspiring, by keeping us together, and by continuing your collegiality. Thank you for all of your efforts. Here's to next year in person.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you, Chief, for your leadership, for your heart and soul that you put into keeping our justice system going, and for your wisdom in dealing with all of the stakeholders. I want to thank everyone for joining us this year. Congratulations to all the award winners and scholarship recipients. And next year, we will see each other in person, break bread, and raise a glass together. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you, Judge Blancarte. Thank you, Jorge Navarrete. Also, I want to thank all the staff, both Beverly Hills Bar Association and the California Supreme Court. We're looking forward to seeing you all in person next year.